Good morning and welcome to the Ask the Expert Show. I'm your host, Gary Cassady, and I've got a very special guest today by the name of David Gorsage. Now, David is actually one of my very first mentors I've ever actually sought after and looked for. And so we're going to kind of get a little bit of details on David and kind of what he thought of me when I first met him, like 18, 19 years old. So let's bring him on. David Gorsage, how are you, sir?
Good morning. Yeah, good. It's a great day, of course. You know me.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you're in Indianapolis now.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And now I was kind of telling people a little bit, like on Facebook earlier this week, like you were my very first mentor that I actually paid.
Absolutely.
And, I didn't, I was kind of growing up like you didn't need mentors type of scenario, like, oh, you should do it yourself. I had guys even making fun of me when I was telling them, like, when I was like, oh, I just got this mentor I'm paying him, and I paid him a lot of money back then because I didn't have the money. But they're like making fun of me, like, you don't need it. But now, if I look back where they are at, where I'm at now today, it's absolutely night and day difference. So,
yeah.
What was your first impression of me when you first met me, man?
It's and I think that's a great place to start. It's not just about where you were, but really where your mindset was.
Yeah.
And if there's anything I could ever say is, when I get a lot of calls, my business is completely referral business now. So a lot of people, like yourself or others, they say, hey, call this guy. And I always tell them, I said, look, I'll talk to anybody. Yeah. But probably more importantly, I don't need to sell them. They need to sell me. And why I say that is because you had the 4 key criteria that is critical for anyone to really seek mentoring or desire mentoring, and that is desire, commitment, humility, and decisiveness. So let's start with that desire. What were you? I saw it right out of the gate, man, because it wasn't that you were young. I never look at demographics. It's about, again, profile. By the way, I'm a behaviorist, so that was easy for me to profile you. But desire, you had the desire to learn. You had the desire to grow. Regardless of what the motivation was, but you had the desire.
Yeah.
You had the commitment, meaning you were willing to do whatever it took. Now, here's the funny thing is, a lot of people have what we call conditional commitment, meaning I will get uncomfortable until. So that was the thing with you. There was never an until. It was like, I'm ready to grow. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there. Humility, that's one of the things that I remember about you the most is, and even still today, that humility factor is what anyone that wants to be a professional, that's how they really never see them. They're always a student of their profession. And that's what humility in a professional way translates to me is I'm a student of my profession. And decisiveness, meaning that everybody wants to, I always call it the prom king or prom queen syndrome. Everybody wants to be prom queen or prom king, but do you really have the decisiveness, the desire, the commitment, and the humility and the desire to make the things come together and say, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm acting on it?
Yeah, that's awesome. I got to admit, like when I first came to you, I didn't know how I was even going to afford you. I wasn't making money. I knew I needed to do something different, in my sales career. I didn't want to give up the insurance. Like I was at the point where I knew I wanted the insurance. I thought I'd be doing the insurance for, till I was 100 years old, and I loved it. And, you were the guy that actually got me off the ground and making sales. I wasn't making sales before you. And it's amazing, like, by the time I was, I met you, I think, was 19? I was 19 years old.
I almost guarantee you was 19 years old. You were a kid, man. And it was a joy to work with you. And let me talk about this monetary thing too, because for your listeners or your audience, one of the things that an outstanding mentor will always take into consideration, and I'm the same way, and that is I never let money stand in the way of somebody having the desire, commitment, humility, to get better.
Yeah.
So, meaning that I don't necessarily discount the price, but we work through it.
Yeah.
I want to challenge that. So it's to me, it's if you're seeking out a mentor, a coach, and they're unwilling to work with you on price, in my opinion, they're just in it for the money. They're not in it to help that person be better.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. So, and you worked with me. I didn't know where I was going to get the money, and we made up this payment schedule, and
Yeah.
it seemed like it might have taken a long time, but I was able to overcome a lot of obstacles and started making sales, to cover that cost and so forth. And I can't, my own family was making fun of me for paying, they were making fun of me, you don't need to pay them. You just got to do this way and do it this way. I got tired of doing it for I have worked for, the first insurance company I was with, one of the things they did is they give me, I was struggling for a bit, and I looked like I was 12 years old.
Yep.
One of the things they did is here's some glasses to make you look more mature, right? They went out and got me a fake wedding ring, dude.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, and then they give me these pictures of these kids, like babies, right? And they told me the backstory, and the story was, hey, I've got a girlfriend, we had a child, blah, 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 here's my baby, here's my baby's name. And it was probably a few months after that, someone called me and said, hey, how's Johnny doing?
Oh, wow.
And I go, who's Johnny?
Oh, no.
Because I didn't register with me. And he goes, oh, your boy Johnny, your son. And I'm like, oh
no.
And then that was the day that kind of changed my life a little bit. I wasn't being myself.
Right.
I had to have a certain briefcase. They wanted me to have a sports coat, and I had to have a white shirt, red tie type of thing. And I remember going out and buying a purple shirt and wearing it to the meeting, and it was everybody's like, oh my God, you're breaking all the rules. And that was something that you kind of helped me get out of my living in myself.
Yep.
And going to the next level. So
that's another great point that again, if somebody, if you're looking for a mentor and looking to pursue that, a couple things you just brought up. Number one is, I always say, I never want to change who you are, because you are uniquely stamped by God. Whatever your higher power you want to choose, you have unique gifts. And the responsibility of a coach, mentor, is to bring out that special gift of you. The only thing that we say in coaching is, we don't want to change who you are, we just want to change how you do something. And also, the other thing is, I want to, I know that we may get into this, but I think another critical thing is, why does someone need to consider very heavily mentoring or coaching? Because we all have 5 hidden weaknesses. Mm-hmm. So every single person that told you what you should do or how you should do this, they're coming from a prism of one of their 5 hidden weaknesses, or combination of it. Number one is need for approval. That is probably by far the greatest impediment to someone's success, meaning they believe that the scripting is, the only reason that you're going to do business with me because you like me. So I will not do something that will jeopardize your ability or your desire to like me. So I'm not going to challenge you. Well, that's a fallacy. First of all, think about people in your life who you respect the most because they challenged you. They didn't denigrate you, they challenged you. They challenged you to be a better person. So need for approval hinders someone from that. Emotional involvement. That's another thing. It's and how you know how much you have emotional involvement. It's kind of like you're leaving a meeting, or you're just left out. Come out of a meeting and you're replaying that meeting in your head, and all of a sudden you slam your fist on the desk, you slam your fist on the steering wheel, and say, "Dang it! I should have sent this at that time." You didn't have a genius attack just then. You finally emotionally decompressed from that moment to allow what you knew should have been said to come to the surface. So that's emotional involvement. It's number 2. Number 3 is low money tolerance. Meaning, you think $1,000 is a lot of money. Now, at this point, you could say it is, but in relatively speaking, it's not. And that's where scripting about abundance mentality or scarcity mentality, but it's low money tolerance. So that's number 3. Number 4 is non-supportive buy cycle, meaning whatever you sell or engage in, however you transact business, you will sell in a mirror image of how you buy. Meaning, if you're the type of person that's going to get consumer reports or you're going to go through, well, when somebody says to you, I need to get 3 quotes, I need to do research. Well, if you're doing that, you're like, okay, I'm not a bad guy. I'm a pretty smart, so they let them off the hook. Well, I'm not saying you close hard, but it's about, again, deciding how do you help them process through a decision process. Mm-hmm. You do that if you're prone to research and getting multiple quotes and things like that. The 5th one is we all have what we call self-limiting beliefs. We all have scripting in our heads from youth. So the idea of a coach is to help you break through some of those things that you've been brought up with. Mm-hmm. Don't talk about money. It's none of your business. The things that our parents scripted in our heads, coming out in our ability to communicate in a healthy way.
Yeah, I love it. I tell people all the time, like, I got this little guy sitting on my shoulder,
Yep.
Don't talk about money. And then,
yep.
Yeah, I help a lot of people raise private money. And one of the things I do, I get up in front of everybody, I'm like, you got this guy sitting over here, it's like you're watching cartoons with the devil and the angel on there. And like your dad's telling you not to talk about money, or go talk to your elders about how much money they have. And then I'm here telling you, like, hey, we need to talk about like finances on how much money you got to invest. So, and that's a lot of that's going back to the initial mentorship I had from you, and I'm able to help overcome a lot of these obstacles with the students I even have. So, yeah. So, what? No, you hit a little bit on this a little bit already, but when somebody says, "Hey, I can't afford a mentor," or "Hey, I'll mentor you for free," what does that all kind of look like? There's free mentors and there's paid mentors. What's your kind of feeling on
that? It's interesting to say that, because here to me there's always probably in any given year. Now that I start to think about that, about free mentoring, I think I never do that, but I actually have. What I mean by that is it's usually a college kid that's just graduated. Mm-hmm. I'll say, tell you what, I will give you, 6 weeks of no expectations mentoring, but there should be, if anytime, in my opinion, somebody offers something free, either A, the person is struggling to try to get their message out there, but I mean by that is, or they're really not that good about it. So I would say I would do it for free, but here's the things is we will have very specific objectives to get accomplished in that 6 weeks. And every week, this is what I expect from you. So they have to fill out what I call a highly productive activity report once a week. So as long as they're meeting the criteria to continue to show they're invested into it, then that person. So I always probably take on 2 or 3 cases a year, clients a year that. But again, it's usually they're right out of college, and they have come back. Actually, they have come back to me, and later on and say, hey, I want to pay for your services now. So to me, that's kind of my give back. It's I wish I would have had somebody that I would have felt comfortable to reach out to, because if anybody ever reaches out to me, I have a homework assignment that they go through, and it's what I call an exercise in introspection. And this is the college students, but I guess it's anybody anymore. And then based upon that, we talk about what we want to get accomplished in the next 30, 60, and 90 days.
Awesome. But the free mentorship is not bad. But what I've found when people come to me, they're like, well, why do I need to pay you when you get it for free from John Smith? And so one of the things is my time is valuable, and my time is valuable. And so, like, I've done the free mentorship, and I've done it a lot. Actually, I still do. Especially like in your, like we were talking about, like, if somebody is like coming in that I know they're struggling financially, and we'll work something out with them, right? But like, my perspective is, if you're not willing to commit a little bit, even if it's hard for you, you're not going to be, you're not going to get out of it. You're going to get out of that comfort zone a little bit.
Yep.
So,
no, I totally agree with that. I mean, if me, if somebody says, "Why should I pay?" Fine, go ahead. I mean, I'm not going to challenge. I mean, if that's their belief system, and I'm not going to challenge. I will challenge their belief system, but if they are so invested in that belief system, I'm not going to change that.
Yep.
It usually, that to me is more than a yellow flag. It's an orange flag in that,
Yeah.
they want something for nothing, or they don't believe that what I have to offer is worth of any value.
Absolutely. So, what is mentorship? Like, can you go a little bit deeper on that? Like, what is it, and why? I know you hit the 5 steps on that, but like, what's the most important thing that you find a mentor does to help you?
I think, first of all, it's listen. I think number one is listen with a non-judgmental ear, and challenge that person to see things differently. And I always say in my high productive activity report, every week you need to do something that gets you out of your comfort zone. And a mentor is someone that kind of manages that growth of that client by the way they challenge them to get out of their comfort zone. And a lot of my clients, ironically, today are women, and there are a lot of CEOs, women or C-suite women, and that's, I think, where it becomes much more clear to me that they're looking for someone that will get them out of their comfort zone, but doesn't listens to them with a non-judgmental ear. That's one of the key things that they tell me that they value out of the relationship. You're always challenging me, and I never feel like I'm being judged.
Yeah, that's actually very important. I don't think I would have, if I felt like I was being judged, I probably wouldn't have joined the mentorship programs that I had.
Yep.
Like when I first came to you, I was embarrassed to tell you, hey, I'm not making any money. And, you asked the right questions, and I had to be honest with myself to get to there. Because I didn't want to come out and say, I suck at sales. I made one sale this year and so forth, and, ran up thousands of dollars in credit card debt.
Well, I think that's the key, is that you have a mentor that you do not feel that you have to put up this guard. I mean, it's a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
From a behaviorist, it's a defensive mechanism, because we don't want to be vulnerable because we're afraid they're going to use it against us. And again, that's some of our human nature. And it's even so much more important today, in my opinion. I do a lot of research. I do a lot of consulting with companies on hiring top talent. And the greatest challenge that I see today is that the students, they're bright, they're extreme. There's some of them that are extremely. There's the A pool, the B pool, the C pool, and the D pool. And most people will never see the A pool, because they are so far beyond. I mean, I always say that. I'm sorry to take a little side road. I will tell you, one of the best ways to understand how good a mentor is ask about their kids. And I'll tell you, I'm blessed. My kids are a shining example of my wife.
Yeah.
But it's I've coached my kids. I've parented them, but more importantly, I've probably mentored and coached them. And I think with that is that the kids today, they're bright, but the more that they can see that non-critical parent in a mentor, that's the problem we have today. There's so many kids that are raised from a critical parent behavior that's where that guardedness, that's where that they're struggling with becoming transparent or authentic. I guess that's the word we use today, authentic. So, I think the more that a mentor can demonstrate, if you got to feel good about that person you're talking to, not that you're there to a role model. Maybe they could be a role model, but it's someone that I admit, and I tell my clients, I am not perfect. I've made tons of mistakes, but I've learned from those mistakes, and I hope to help you not experience those mistakes.
Yeah,
To help you really live to the fullest ability that you have, because I see more success in you than you see in yourself.
Yep. That's very important. You got to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You really do. And I know that's one of the things that you really got out of me. I actually started believing myself I could actually make sales. Where before I struggled so much that, it was programmed into me that I couldn't sell anymore.
But I think the question that you asked was, it's a progression of confidence. So when you're working with a mentor, they're responsible at helping you see levels of confidence that you hadn't had before. Because it's not about the results. The results will come.
Yeah.
But it's about building the confidence through the first 30 days is about breaking bad habits, and breaking bad habits so that you can see some level of results or reaction that you see confidence building. Oh my gosh, you told me exactly that was going to happen, and it did. Or you told me that I needed to say it this way or approach it this way, and I did. My gosh, you wouldn't believe what happened.
Yeah.
That's where the confidence starts to build then.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough on that. Again, stuff. I'm 41 years old. It's been 21 years almost. So, like, that stuff is still stuck with me. And I'm giving back to other people, and I'm kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, one of the things, like, you taught me about was like daily behaviors, attitudes, VAT, right?
Right.
I kind of placed that a little bit, and I changed it around to something that a motto that my high school wrestling coach actually kind of instilled in us as well, and it's act like a champion.
Yeah.
The A is for C is conditioning, T is for techniques. We focus a lot really on the conditioning part. You got to condition your mind, your body, your spirit.
Yep.
And that helps control your attitude. And then you go and learn your techniques and so forth. But that's something that I've got a marriage the two together and came out with that like a champion, and I've worked with it ever since then. And I can't tell you enough. That there, like having that motto, those systems in place. What's that like for you? I mean, because you're talking behavior, attitude, and techniques. So, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean that's a great way. And I've gone on, behaviors. I still keep the behaviors and skills or techniques, but I changed the attitude to mindset. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I went on a journey about 2 years ago. It's probably about 3 years ago, to really dig into some of the greatest of mindsets. And I really was blessed to work with some outstanding professionals and coaching them and really dig into mindset. But I swerved into probably the demographic of what I would consider to be the ultimate mindsets, and that's Navy SEALs. I've been doing a lot of work with some Navy SEALs, and there's a guy out there by the name of Mark Devine, and he wrote a book called The Way of the SEAL. Now, some people may think of Navy SEALs as the greatest of warriors, and that's true. But more importantly, they are, he was a lieutenant commander. This guy was a CPA, Wall Street executive, and then 9/11 hit, and he just signed up for Navy SEALs. I mean, he was for the Navy, went to Navy SEALs. So here's a guy that's extremely bright that went through the Navy SEAL training. He is classified as one of only 2 Navy SEALs that really, and you probably have heard of the BUDS, their training, their BUDS. it is the most horrendous training because it does everything. Mind, body, spirit, everything. It really breaks. But he was one of the only two that they always say, kind of breezed through that. Everybody's like, what did you do? There's mindset. He talked about mindset, how to manage your emotions, how to manage your mindset. So he wrote a book called The Way of the SEAL that it's probably the book that I would say is the most explicit, detailed, thorough book on understanding the things we're talking about: behavior, skills, and mindset. Mine is always just go do great things. That's kind of where you have your motto. My motto is go do great things. Just go do great things. Whatever you do, just go do great things.
Yeah, that's awesome. How important is it to have some type of motto like that?
I think it's absolutely critical. In fact, one of my first mentors or coaches, every year he would adopt a new motto and an icon that represented it. And I'll never forget. I mean, he had Mount Everest as his icon one year that I started working with him. He goes, "Are you familiar with Sir Edmund Hillary?" I'm like, not really. He's the first one that scaled the summit. And he had this up there because he said, here's the strong message. And I carry this message with me today, and I carry it with my kids and everybody I work with, that he reaches the summit of Mount Everest, right? He comes down, the reporters are there, and they're saying, "My gosh, how long has this been a goal of yours?" Now listen to this. He says, "It was never a goal to reach the summit." And he said, because no one had ever done it, and it would be too daunting to mentally process that as the goal. However, the goal was every step that I took towards Mount Everest was a step to overcome a demon inside of me.
Wow.
Is the messaging of an icon of Mount Everest, but more importantly, the messaging and understanding what it is it takes to get to that summit. Don't think of the summit, think of the steps that you take to overcome something is what the goal is.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. So that taught me, every year to have an icon as something as that achievement. And might get me a little emotional. I talked about Mark Devine, and he was one of the 2 Navy SEALs that was breezed through the BUDS training. Well, the other one was Michael Murphy. And I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Murphy. Murphy was, you've probably seen Lone Survivor. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was the commander of that SEAL unit that he gave himself up. So, Michael Murphy. So it's actually coming up on June the 28th is what they call as Operation Red Wing. That was the actual day that they were killed in Afghanistan on their mission. And, here's a guy that gave up everything for his team because he gave his life for his team. So that's kind of been my icon is Michael Murphy, that person and what he represents as character and commitment, to a greater cause than even himself or his team. So yeah, so that's been my icon for the year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Somebody out there looking for a mentor. Maybe they got some struggles in their life. They're not mentally where they need to be. Maybe struggling financially or whatever it may be in that situation. Maybe, like me, I was struggling financially. I knew I needed to improve and get better at my sales ability for my job at the time. What does that look like? How does someone find a mentor? And so forth. What does that process look like for you?
Well, here's what I always tell people. One of the things I tell all my clients is every week you should be reaching out to someone that you would think is way above your pay grade or way above your relationship abilities. And I mean, CEOs of companies are real people too. Or executives of real companies are real people too. And I tell them, I said, call them up and just say, I know you don't know me. In fact, this is not a sales call. I mean, I got a whole thing I work through. It's not a sales call. I just heard a lot about you, and what I've understood about you, I really respect as a community leader. I just want to buy you a cup of coffee and just pick your brain. I just would like to learn from you on things that you overcame and things that you feel that have set you aside on your track towards success. Again, it's not a sales call. I'm not trying to patronize or sell you anything. I just want to get to know you. And I tell people, I said, ask them, either ask them to be a mentor or ask them who've been their mentors or somebody that they would suggest. But I will tell you, and here's what I always tell to people, if they don't want to take your call, if they don't want to have your meeting, that's not going to be the type of mentor anyway. If you are the person that's truly desiring to be better, and that's what you say in the call, all I want to do is become a better professional and a better person, and I just wanted to reach out to you because for what I've learned about you, you're someone I'd like to at least engage with to understand what paths that you took to get to this level. Mm-hmm. If they're not willing to listen to someone that's being honest and saying, I just want to be a better person or better professional, I just want to buy you a cup of coffee and see what track you took, then my point is, that's definitely not the person you'd want to pursue. But they will. If somebody would call me today, and I do, anybody that calls me and said, hey, I just want to buy you a cup of coffee, or even if they want to buy me a beer, I just want to pick your. I always, absolutely, always give them that. They had the courage to pick up the phone. They had the courage to engage in a conversation, and they had the courage to literally try. They had the desire, commitment, humility, decisiveness to want to be better. There's no better way to illustrate that 4 criteria than what I just said, as far as pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah, very powerful. Now, I know this one is really on our list, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So you as a mentor, do you have mentors that you go to?
Absolutely.
Do you pay mentors? Do you have free ones? Like, how does that work with yourself?
I don't have anybody that I pay, but I have 2 critical mentors that I rely on. And then there's a third one that probably is the toughest on me. That's my wife. Yes. So, but I would say, yeah, if you want a dose of humility, that's always that's I just go with my wife. Yes. But I would say, I have always maintained mentors or a performance coach or whatever you want to call them. I kind of tend to stay away from a life coach, only because maybe it's my head trash, which is it's a lot of mamby-pamby stuff of life. Now, and I that's a takeaway from those professionals that go, but I'm a performance coach, and I'm going to get in your face, and I seek that.
Yeah.
My mentors, because I know I am one of the toughest people that they would encounter. I do struggle with humility, but I would say they're the ones that ground me, and they tell me, I'll be honest with you. One of my best mentors is 38 years old. She is African American. She just finished her doctorate, and I'll tell you, she gets in my face. But I love her from the standpoint that she doesn't allow me to believe my own stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a couple mentors that I've actually made. I have the guys that I go to that kind of like they take me under the wing in a sense. So I get a lot of respect for these guys. I kind of thought of another question here real quick, but the accountability of a mentor. I know one of the first things you had me do was like homework and how to keep track of my sales calls, how many attempts, and so forth. and that kind of gives me a track to run on. What is it like? Why is that important? Okay, for somebody
yeah, that's a great question. I think because we're all human, and it's easy to go back to old habits. When you got accountability, I mean, I speak to every single one of my clients once a week. It may be 5 minutes, it may be 50 minutes, it may be 2 hours, it might be 3 hours. But I would say it's a weekly accountability. I call it my highly productive activity report. What are the behaviors that you did this week? And we set parameters about, what are those behaviors? And that you have to share with me. And it's not that I'm gonna beat you up because you didn't do something. My question is, why didn't you do something that we need to figure out how we can recalibrate your time so that you can execute at a higher level. So that's why that accountability is so important. It's a pulsation of behaviors and mindsets and skills that allow that tweaking to grow. And it's I will tell you one thing you didn't ask, but I'll tell you is journaling is by far the most powerful thing to transform yourself. And what I don't mean is, like writing in a diary, or it's what we call structured journaling. And we can go on, maybe that's a different call we can have or a different session we can have, but structured journaling is about, all you do is you take structured behaviors and you're writing a message to your mind every day is what structured journaling is. And based upon your current corrupt, or we call head trash, that's how you can get yourself out of head trash, is through structured journaling. So journaling and behavior tracking on a weekly basis is what's so critical to transformation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Are there any books you recommend?
Well, like I said, number one is Mark Devine's The Way of the Seal. Number two, Tim Grover, Relentless. He was the one that coached Michael Jordan and Dwayne Wade and Kobe. His book on Relentless is a powerful book about mindset. There's a lot of them out there. Jocko Willink. I mean, here's another great one. Redmond. Oh, come on.
I know a tough question.
Anyway, he wrote a book called Trident, The Forging and Reforging of a Navy SEAL. And that is a powerful book for a leader. Redmond, oh my gosh. I think it's Michael Redmond. Anyway, and I know the guy. It's one of those things you just... but his book, the Trident, The Forging and Reforging of a Navy SEAL, again, those are the ones that have had the greatest impact. I've read so much, me, it's just, but of current, the things that speak to me are those things that hit the mindset.
Awesome.
Start with those. Yeah. There's another one I would say, the beauty of a darker soul. And he wasn't a Navy SEAL, but he was a Ranger. And he was a lead of a team in Afghanistan. The point was that he was leading an effort of recommunicating he was trying to create more of a community within Afghanistan and let people know that the U.S. was there to really help them, so to speak. But he was on a mission, and his point person got hit by a sniper and killed. And he was hit as well, but it was the trauma of going through the experience of seeing one of his best friends killed by a sniper and how that impacted him and how he needed to. That traumatic experience was difficult, like the PTSDs was difficult for him to overcome. It's his journey of reclaiming his soul is what it boils down to. And it's not about the military or the battle. It's or the war. It's about the mind or the soul and with the journeys that they've gone through to reclaim who they are as a person is what I kind of tend to lean towards today.
Yeah. There's none of that all-you-need necessary. It's overcoming it and so forth. Yeah, that's awesome. So
those are the big ones. I can't think of his name. I would right I got the phone. I'll probably remember it, but
yeah. Hey, no problem. Hey, we're getting close to time here. Dan, I appreciate you being on the show. Did you get any last word for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, my mindset is always this. Number one is there's more genius and brilliance and frankly the greatness of gift in everybody. And we're in a tough time today, and we have a lot of wounded souls out there is what it boils down to. And I tell my kids, I said, these are just people that are really wanting to, no matter how much of a devastation that they are creating, which is horrific devastation, but there's human beings. These are people that are God's gift to humanity. And the more that we can try to, again, as a mentor, listen, find someone just to listen and challenge you to be that better be that better version of yourself. Everybody has it inside of them. Everybody has a great gift, a gift that nobody else has. Go on the journey to discover it. And a mentor is the person that can help you find it. But more importantly is, once you find it, it's easy to monetize.
Yeah.
And I really mean that. It's not about the money, but it's when you're doing something that you're so passionate about that you could stay up all night doing, that is a gift. And it can be monetized because nobody else has that gift or the ability in that. So go on that journey.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah. Thanks again for being on the show, David.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in today, and we'll see you guys next Monday. Have a great week.